Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first one is titled, "My ex-wife learned the hard way to not ignore a court summons." I was married to a woman for 15 years and ended up divorcing her because she liked to sleep with other guys. While it took me 6 years to stumble onto this fact, she worked from home. I commuted 2 hours each way into the city. I owe it to her being either a sociopath or a narcissist, or both. Why not? She could absolutely turn on and off the charm and could come up with lies staring you right in the eyes. Hindsight is 2020. Let's call her V, short for Voldemort, as one time when I was talking about her after the separation, I referred to her as she who must not be named, and the nickname stuck with all my friends and family. During the marriage, my ex and I were best friends with another couple, and for this post we'll call them Sam and Marie. Sam was, still is, my best friend. Marie was V's best friend. Marie had found about V's plans to cheat on me prior to me finding out and told V that she couldn't condone infidelity and their friendship would end if V did cheat on me. No, Marie did not tell me, and I don't blame her for not doing so. When I finally found out V was having a Facebook affair, if you're going to have an online affair, don't do it while married to a computer expert, with some dude in CA. We lived in MA. It was just 2 weeks before V was flying him out and putting him up in a hotel for 3 days. I spent those 2 weeks getting a lawyer, a pie and my exit strategy together. I left her the weekend after their hotel stay. She would spend the days with him and come home for the afternoon, evening without a shred of guilt showing in her actions. The pie having gotten pics and video of them leaving the hotel and eating lunch together and heading back to the hotel. I first stayed at Sam and Marie's in their in-law basement apartment, eventually moving to a small apartment back in the town where V lived. Fast forward 9 months and I'm divorced from V. Why it was so short to divorce is another tale worthy of this subreddit. We had one daughter, let's call her Rebecca. She was 13 at the time, between us still at home and were trying shared custody and live about 1/4 mile apart. There are other kids from the marriage, but they were living apart from us at that time and don't play a part in this part of the whole story. We had acquired a lake house during the marriage and had it listed to sell, and we had it written into the divorce agreement to split the proceeds, but paying half the mortgage on that and the rent on my apartment was really stretching me thin financially. One day Marie emails me, subject line in all caps, "V just tried to get me fired." Long story short, V emailed Marie's boss claiming that Marie was gossiping about V on sales calls to customers, but her boss knew it was BS and told V as much. Wisely, Marie didn't mess around waiting to see what was next. She went to the local courthouse that day and filed for an anti-harassment order against V. It took several visits to the judge, as V chose to ignore multiple summons to court so that the judge could hear her side of the story. Eventually the judge granted the order because V never showed up to court. During this time, V called 911 on me multiple times, one time claiming I put a letter bomb in her mailbox, and 2 other times I had entered her apartment without her permission. The letter bomb accusation was due to me posting a link to shipyourенemiesglitter.com on Facebook months before, and subsequently mailing her a thick bundle of forms to sign. Police were called and I had to go to V's apartment and open the letter in front of the police. Needless to say, there was no glitter, let alone a bomb. Oddly enough, this accusation came just days after there had been an actual bomb threat called into the town hall. Funny that the 2 times I had gone into her apartment had both been to drop off Rebecca's book bag when she had forgotten it at my apartment. Both times I had texts from V granting me permission to open the door and put the book bag just inside. She would then text me after I had done so, trying to revoke permission. To this day, I think V thinks that if she deletes a message on her end, the message is deleted on my end. Even though kids will be kids and Rebecca did forget her book bag at my place on at least one other subsequent occasion, I did not fall for V's ruse a third time. All forgotten book bags were delivered by Rebecca and I, meeting halfway between the apartments. Also included with the multiple 911 calls were multiple, minor child wellness checks, on evenings when I had Rebecca at my apartment. It's so much fun having to explain to your child why the police are showing up at 8 o'clock at night to check to see if she is okay. Basically, V was trying to get me frustrated and react badly. Throughout this whole mess, Sam and Marie have been lifesavers to me and Rebecca. Hosting and cooking weekly family dinners for us, they are Rebecca's godparents, and just being absolute rock steady in their support and tolerance of the situation. Around this time, V filed for sole custody. At the strong urging of my lawyer, I insisted on a guardian ad litem, GAL, being appointed to represent Rebecca's best interests, her being a minor child. Of course, the parents must pay the fees of the GAL. At this point, my finances are really getting worrisome, so I write an email to V saying we need to drop the price of the lake house and get that sold regardless of profit. I needed that albatross off from around my neck so I could continue to afford to live where I could co-parent Rebecca as well as fight the custody battle. So, there I am, going deeper into debt, can't pay rent and mortgage long-term, and V is starting another court battle for full custody. With no other choice, I move back in with Sam and Marie so I can continue to pay my lawyer and keep fighting. About a week after I'm settled back in with Sam and Marie, I hear from Rebecca that V's glass patio table was smashed the previous night. I was in NH that evening with witnesses, so it couldn't have been me. I was paying for Rebecca's cell phone, and we have Life 360, so we could know where each other was at any time, due to an earlier threat by V to take the two youngest kids and move to CA to be with the idiot from Facebook. Plus it had history, so I could at least prove my phone was in NH. Rebecca says she knows I was in NH and tells me she'll tell her mother it wasn't me. The next day I was served with a restraining order, RO, claiming that I had vandalized V's patio furniture and that she still felt afraid due to the letter bomb incident. The cops knew it was bullcrap, but the judge had no knowledge of the incident when V filed the RO and had to take her at her word. The RO was for 10 days and then I could show up in court and contest it being continued. The officer who served the RO explained that he had to confiscate any firearms and licenses. While I did have a recently acquired Class A concealed carry license, actually from a couple's firearms course that was an anniversary gift from V the previous year, I hadn't any firearms other than a BB gun of Rebecca's. The officer left with just the Class A license, smiling as he said he was pretty sure I wasn't going to go on a rampage with a BB gun. The first thing I did the next day was to go to the police station and request all incident reports that involved me since I left her. I knew of 7 incidents, but the desk sergeant informed me they had 19 incident reports from V. He talked to me a bit, clearly trying to get a feel for what kind of person I was, and just what was going on. We parted company with him assuring me that the patrol officers would now know what was going on, and the PD would do right by me so long I kept my cool. Fair enough. 2 nights before the court appearance to contest the RO, Sam, Marie and I are sitting on their porch, drinking some beer and brainstorming about what I'm going to say to the judge. I'm a bit discouraged because I know it's going to be a he said, she said situation, and I'm living in Massachusetts. If your chromosomes don't match, you are a second-class citizen when it comes to parental rights in MA. Plus, V deserves an Oscar for how well she plays the victim. It wasn't looking good. My only hope was if V decided the RO itself was enough to make me look bad to the gal and not show up and let the RO expire. Marie suddenly said, "Hey, let me see the RO." I handed it over to her. "Hey, this is my judge. She's the judge that granted me the anti-harassment order against V." "You're kidding." Sam and I looked at each other in amazement. "I swear it is. Let me go get it." Marie goes inside and comes back a few minutes later with her court order. Sure enough, it's the same judge. My grin felt like it was going to split my lips. Now I knew exactly what to do. The court date to contest the RO arrived and I'm there first thing, just me. No lawyer, because he had to appear in court elsewhere. I strongly hoped that V wouldn't show up, but she did, with someone other than her divorce lawyer, and before court was in session her new lawyer approached me and offered to let the no contact order lapse but wanted a do not abuse order left in place. I politely declined her offer, stating I had done nothing to warrant either order or that I wanted the judge to hear my argument. V's lawyer was taken aback by this a bit and then shrugged as if to say, "It's your funeral," and walked back to where V was sitting. We went in front of the judge and V told her side of the story and I started telling mine, introducing all the incident reports from the police department, but V and her lawyer didn't have copies of all of them, so the judge sent us back to the gallery to await second call while V and her lawyer reviewed the reports. When we were called back, the judge started to go into the content of the police reports and I stated that the content was almost irrelevant, but she insisted on going through them. During that V emphasized the two incidents where I briefly entered V's apartment with her permission, but she characterized them as me doing so without her permission. I said that, if necessary, I would be able to provide the communications where she gave me permission, but I didn't have them with me today. When going through the first police report from the night I found out about the online affair, wherein V claimed I had brain lesions. V also tried to characterize me as having multiple personality disorder as told to her by our shared primary care physician. The judge asked her with no little incredulity, "His doctor told you this without his permission?" "Yes, Your Honor." The judge looked at me, puzzled. I shrugged and said while slowly shaking my head in disbelief, "I have a very close relationship with my doctor, and I highly doubt he would violate HIPAA." She looked a little nonplussed, but I think she got the message that V wasn't being entirely truthful. As that was the last police report to go, I reminded her that my point wasn't the content, but that I thought V was using the courts to harass and intimidate me and to make me look bad to the gal, and I brought up that this isn't out of character for V as she has an anti-harassment order in place against her, put there by Your Honor, Your Honor. Asterisk. The judge blinked at that bit of info. I gave her the details and reminded her that V declined to show up at the multiple hearings. As I recounted the particulars of Marie's story, the judge squinted her eyes more and more and her frown got deeper and deeper. She turned to V and her voice was slow cold fury. "Do you have an anti-harassment order in place against you?" V's voice was so small and weak. "Yes, Your Honor." I so wanted to look at V's face to see her reaction, but I kept my eyes locked on the judge. The judge pointed at V. "Why didn't you show up to the hearings?" A pause as V struggled to find some excuse. "Because I didn't want to associate with that." But the judge waved her to silence. I think that was the turning point, as I think she was going to grant their request for the do not abuse, but she turned to me and said sternly, "I think there is a bit of this going on both sides, but clearly she wants you to stay out of her apartment." "Never again, Your Honor." Restraining order terminated, and with a bang of her gavel, we were done. Because the RO was terminated, legally that meant it never happened. I got my class A concealed carry license back the next day and ultimately won the custody battle, a large part of which was the termination of the RO, but also due to V's subsequent increasingly poor emotional and verbal treatment of Rebecca. The next one is titled, I, 26F, told my BF, 29M, of 2 years today that I love him for the very first time. He didn't reciprocate. So, Troy and I have been together for a little over a year and a half. June will be 2 years. And it has been so great. I have never had anything flow so naturally. There have definitely been a few instances where we haven't seen eye to eye but have never fought. Sex life is great. We don't live together. Really happy relationship on both fronts. Troy has only told one girl ever that he loved her, which was whatever to me. I was indifferent about that. But also thought it was nice because that means he doesn't say it unless he really feels it. I recently lost my dad and older brother, and it has been very tough on me. Through the situation and how he has stood by me, I had the realization that I do indeed really truly love this guy. Not just puppy love but like real deep in my bones love. It has been stressing me out to feel in love with him because I didn't want any strong feelings to scare him off. And because I wasn't sure if he was there or not with his feelings. So, this morning we were moving my office and he could tell I had been annoyed or stressed. So, he was trying to get it out of me, and I just came out with it. The big, I love you. I knew he wasn't going to reciprocate, and he was so very sweet about it. He said, "This is verbatim. It doesn't drive me away from you, but it also doesn't bring me closer. I know how I feel about you and our relationship." That wasn't all that he said in the conversation, but just assured me that he wasn't going anywhere and not to stress or overanalyze anything. So, even though I knew he wouldn't reciprocate, it is tough to tell someone, your best friend in the whole world, that you love and are in love with them and not to hear it back. So, my advice I need is this: would it put too much pressure on him to ask the following question? Do you ever see yourself feeling that way about me eventually? Or am I wasting my time? Not over text or phone, of course, but I feel like I'm in a vulnerable state right now and I don't want to ask anything that comes across as crazy or puts too much pressure on him. Update. Just finished talking with him. We spent about 20 minutes talking about smoked salmon, and then I was like, hey, what's the fucking deal? Not really that dramatic, but I just said, can I ask you a question? Do you ever see yourself feeling that way about me? It is okay if you don't feel it now or just aren't ready to say it. We are obviously both very laid-back people in a healthy relationship. But saying I love you is a huge deal to me, and you basically told me that my love for you had zero impact on you by what you said earlier. Am I just wasting my time? Then he said, loving somebody is a huge deal for me. And I can't answer that question. You are most definitely not wasting your time. For me, saying that I love you means marriage. That is what it means to me. I am very emotionally invested in you, but that is like asking me if I see myself as the manager at company he is currently the manager at, in 4 years. You aren't wasting your time, and I want to be with you, but I am not somebody who plans out my life step by step. You just caught me off guard when you asked me your office. It was unexpected, and even after all this time I was surprised that was what was bugging you. I don't want you to leave just because the words I love you are hard for me to say. Number 2. Well, after reading a lot of responses and I guess thinking a lot and getting clarity, I am just frustrated. Because I see his point of view. He is an assisted living facility director, and I am a nurse practitioner. I thought maybe it's the whole seeing people die causes emotions to numb a little. Since that is totally a thing, when you see a lot of people pass away, even if it isn't in a brutal way, it does make you a little less soft and squishy inside. But I also feel like he should have been able to answer my question a little better. I don't know, I am so beyond confused right now. This suck. Number 3. I just commented this below, but I'll post up here. He came to my work today as a patient to get some blood draws, and I did the draws and was pretty passive. I kept thinking that if I stopped putting in any effort, he wouldn't even care. He would lose interest if I stopped trying. I've realized that it isn't 50-50 on effort, but I believe both partners need to put in 100/100ths. I realized it's me pulling the relationship through. It isn't about him saying he loves me or not, it's about me not feeling special to him. That if I walked, he wouldn't care. He would just be relaxed and really not even notice any sort of difference, which really sucks. I don't think that it is anything that is that repairable. I can't remember the last time that he asked me to actually hang out with him. I remember I waited an entire week just for him to ask to see me, and although he texted me, didn't care to see me. So, I guess I just have to buck up and tell him I have to leave him. All of the comments have really given me some clarity. It wasn't about him saying he loves me, or loving me, it was about him just genuinely not giving a duck. He liked the companionship, the sex, and all the food we ate together, but just doesn't care about me. A user in the comments said, in regard to your update, honestly, it's up to you if this is enough. If knowing that he is very emotionally invested in you are enough. As you've said, you're both pretty laid back people. So maybe knowing that he is emotionally invested in you and you're not wasting your time is enough. But what does his investment mean? Does it mean he'd like to share a future with you? Does he put in effort for you? Does he enjoy making you happy? Has he made sacrifices for you, large or small? Does he prioritize you? Does he involve you in making decisions? Does he take you and your needs seriously? I find his reluctance to make plans, even loose ones, really weird. You don't have to plan your life out to the letter, but almost everyone has an idea of where they'd like to go and what they'd like to do. Are you both going to continue living separately, or would you like to move in together in the future? Do you want to travel together? Does he ever want kids? What if you want kids? If he were required to move overseas for his work, would you go with him? Would you maintain a long-distance relationship? Or would you call it quits? Is he just going to shrug his shoulders and say, whatever, at every life decision that he faces? Frankly, his ambivalence, his reluctance to express any deeper emotions towards you, and his aversion to thinking about the future at all seem like red flags to me. If you're happy with that kind of chilled-out existence, good for you, continue doing what you're doing. But the best you can hope for is that he's incredibly emotionally stifled, and I couldn't be with someone like that. At worst, you better just hope that he doesn't meet anyone else whom he finds himself more invested in. The next one is titled, Me, 26, F. With my so, 29M. 2 years, I told him I loved him for the first time, he didn't reciprocate. Cheating update. Well, I posted an update, that got deleted, and I am sure glad that it did. Since new events transpired just today, less than an hour ago. We had a long talk, and he was so confused why I needed so much verbal reassurance, and I told him it was because I wasn't seeing it in his actions. In my last post I had mentioned in a comment his absolutely insane ex. Well, she texted me this today, your perfect little Troy has another side piece named Allison. With dates that they hung out, and pictures of her. Now I know how crazy this girl is, so I immediately got him on the phone to ask him what is up. He admitted to all of it. He had been sleeping with this other girl for a few weeks. He said it would never happen again. I told him we would never happen again, and we are done. Since I am sure she probably wasn't the first. Already set up an appointment with the MD at the practice I work at, I am an NP, to get tested for any STIs. Blocked his number. Luckily, we don't live together or have anything shared. I have a toothbrush and a set of scrubs at his house but don't give a damn about that. Well, it sucks, I am so angry right now, and I know the sadness will hit. I loved this guy, 2 years of my life on this guy. Dang it, Reddit, damn it. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.